Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. Romans and I are both money guys, but we're also gamers, so we wanted to put this pod together to help gamers like us with some of their tough money topics that can sometimes feel as hard as a Souls boss.
We're talking budgeting, saving, paying off debt, and how to not fall for all the traps life throws at you.
Grab a health potion and let's start stacking gold IRL. This is DLC, a finance podcast for gamers. Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. I'm Scruffy, this is Romans, and today we wanted to talk a little bit about getting started, why it's important to actually start taking a look at your finances and taking charge. Romans and I have both worked on actually building businesses, which is what you're doing if you're a streamer. And contrary to popular belief, I can't speak from Romans, but I have a sneaking suspicion it was a similar way for him. I did not start off super successful and just immediately crushing it. It took a lot of work, and for me, since I was in the finance space, I was tracking things, which definitely helped. And today I'll be talking a little bit about why that helped me, how I was able to stay committed and actually grow to a point where I was not just not scraping by, actively losing money while I was trying to build this business. But yeah, Romans, I know you've got some stuff to talk about this. I've heard bits and pieces of your story, but I've never actually heard the full story of how you started building these businesses and what inevitably got to the point where you were able to sell a couple of them.
All right, let's do it. Let's dig in. So, actually, I don't think in this, for today's episode, I'll talk about the happy ending. I think this is more about
Okay.
the struggles in the beginning. I think because if the question that we got that's kicked off this entire episode is that I've never tracked my finances, I'm scared, and I honestly don't want to look at it. I think for me, I think I'll tell you the beginning where it's still rough, and maybe we'll save it for another episode where the happy ending comes. Although if you really pay attention, the happy ending is there, right? Like I'm not no longer struggling, so it happened. So yay, the release is there. But in the early days, I'm a second generation immigrant, so my family came here from the Philippines. The whole citizenship thing played out. Uh, we didn't grow up like on the streets of Eighth Mile in Detroit, Michigan, but we definitely didn't grow up in the nice neighborhood. Like where I actually grew up in Van Nuys, California, I can't even drive down my childhood street in the daytime anymore. So it wasn't
Mm,
that bad when I was there, but it's didn't get better in the last 40 years. It's actually worse, which is kind
mm,
of sad that like I no longer
yeah.
can drive down my childhood street because I honestly don't want to get shot. And so anyway, as an immigrant, so now we're fast forwarding. I made it through. I survived high school. I survived middle school, and now I'm in college. I survived college, and so I graduated college actually in debt. I didn't know how credit cards worked until I was finishing my master's in tax. If you really think about how crazy that is. So I already have a bachelor's in accounting, right? Took in 4 years of business classes, or probably 2 to 3 years, because the first two are filler. So two to
Hmm.
three years of actual business accounting classes. And I'm accruing debt up the wazoo, deferring the interest rate, deferring the payments on the loans into eternity. And I graduated between 60 and 80,000 in debt. And when I graduated with my master's, I found out the horrors of how terrible it is. So, for me, I have a real sore point about credit cards and how they work. I feel like they're modern day slavery, but I was enslaved to it, right? So you graduate, you get a job, and you're working for the man. My first job, I got paid $45,000, and this was like cream of the crop type work, and this is going back 20 years. So in those days, that was a lot of money, especially in Florida. That wasn't like Silicon Valley money. That was Orlando, Florida money.
Mm, yeah.
And at that time, I felt rich as heck. So rich. I've never been paid that much money before. That's over 4,000 a month. But I was coming to the terms of the reality that I had 80,000 in debt to pay off. And I did the math, and I was on track to pay it off in 30 years. And even though it was some small amount, I don't know, 100 to 250 bucks a month, that's a lot of money. Like that felt like so much of my paycheck was going to pay, and it was soul crushing to think it's going to take me 30 years to pay this off. For me, luckily, my wife is smarter than me, and she also graduated. She graduated with very minimal debt. I think she graduated with some number below 20,000 in debt, because I worked too in college, but I just didn't understand how it worked. So imagine I was making 20 to 30,000 a year plus full paid scholarship plus all this free tuition, and I still was accruing debt because I was just living a lifestyle beyond my means. Right? I had a very nice apartment, had some roommates. I drove a brand new Chevy Extreme, an S10 Extreme, low to the ground because I got to
Okay.
be,
Okay.
I got to be that cool college guy who acts like he has money when he's living off debt. And so when I started my first business, uh, I had just dug myself out of debt. So if you think back, I was on track to pay it off in 30 years, but I didn't start my first business until 5 or 6 years in. And what I realized, and this is a shout out to Chuck Bentley of Crown Financial, I took a course at a church called Crown
Yeah.
Financial, and honestly, that I was already learning, and then Crown Financial like broke open the doors and told me, by leaning on God, leaning on the Word, that you can actually dig out of debt if you're serious. Like this is like, this is on the level of I'm obese, I'm 400 pounds, I'm serious, I want to lose 200 pounds of weight in 90 days, and you can actually do it. It was that level of commitment. And me and my wife, I think we dug ourselves out of debt in 2 years, by
Mhm.
literally instead
Wow.
of yeah, yeah. So you might say, "Oh my God, you're making so much money," but what we did is we crushed our means to live. Like we literally ramen noodles, and so many cheap hacks. A lot of super embarrassing ways to get by. In those days, Wendy's used to have a meal. I could feed myself at Wendy's for $1.50 a day. Like you'd get a chili and a baked potato, and then you'd get like 90 crackers, right? Because they didn't care. I don't know how it works today. I bet you they only give you two these days. And you can't even get, the deals don't even exist anymore. But like
Mhm.
we were living on $3 a day meals for 2 years, as one example. And then we literally were hermits. Is that fun to do? Cool. Is it free? Then we ain't doing it, right? Like if there was a video game, I played no video games. If it was free on the phone, I'd play it until I hit that paywall, and I'd have to play a different video game. Like I
Mhm.
missed the entire, so like as a gamer, I missed the entire PS3 launch. Like I never played a single PS3 video game, even to this day, unless it's been remastered or something. I never played it in, like there's 10 years of time that I left the video game space and didn't get to play any of it because I was playing the real video game, life, right? The
Mm.
ultimate video
Yeah.
game, the number one video game that you'll ever play is actually real life. There's no respawns or anything, and I wanted to win, right? And I was a new Christian, and I wanted to win for the Lord as well. I didn't just want to win for myself. And but when we launched our first business, we had no money because to pay off debt doesn't mean you have extra. It means you have nothing, right? So we
Mhm.
just swam and dug out of this hole, and then it was in a process of wealth building, and then wealth investment. Uh, the thing when you're building when I was building my first business, every dollar I made, if I made a sale, I poured it back into the business. And what I mean by that is I paid for an ad in a magazine. I would write. I would pay for gas in my car, and I would drive. I literally drove all over the state of Florida selling my wares out of my car. And for that first business, selling accounting. So I was literally selling accounting all over the state. I would drive as far, I'm in Orlando, so I drive 2.5 hours north to Jacksonville and all around that area. I would drive all the way south down. I would just north of, I would never go too far south. I never wanted to hit Miami where I'm from because Miami is just, it's too gangster down there. Like, if I was
Yeah.
the IRS, I would send all my agents to Miami. I wouldn't even send them to any other part of Florida. There's just so much going down in Miami. I'm telling you, there's a reason why
That's true.
they call the place Vice City. There's just, it's all down there. So I didn't want to really go down that far south. So I went stopped in Brevard Cocoa area where the retirees are, and then I would
Mhm.
drive to Tampa and Sarasota. But if you think about it, I would drive 2 hours north of where I lived, 2.5 hours south of where I lived, east and west, and I would drive by myself. And obviously, I'd be polite. I wouldn't just show up in places and just carpet bag it. And carpet bag is when you just show up unannounced and then just sell yourself.
Mhm.
Nobody respects you. Nobody likes you. Nobody wants you there. And so, like you have to do it the right way. Like I'd pay the fee. I'd pay the registration fee. And so if I'd sell a deal, I'd use that money to pay the registration fee to go speak at another place, hoping I land
Yep.
another client. And one of the questions I'd always get is, how did you land all of your clients? How did you land your customer base? And I would tell you, I went everywhere intentionally. And by doing that long enough, people would call me back 2 to 3 years after, 6 months later. So if I'm lucky, same day, but rarely was the same day. I think the
Yeah.
usual was months later, and I would follow up. I think the biggest problem new businesses have, especially if you're a new streamer or whatever, is you have zero follow up. You do all this touching, you do all this thing, you do all this pizzazz, you do all these things on stream, and there's zero follow up. If they followed you on social media, to be honest with you, if you're a new streamer and someone likes your comment and you don't do anything about that, you're not doing the follow up you should be doing. Like Dunbar's number, I think if is another lesson for another day. But Dunbar's number says you can manage some number around 150 relationships. If the average streamer had 150 people tune into their content, you would be making somewhere between, I would say on the low end, 10,000 a month, on the high end, 20 to 30,000 a month, with just 150 real viewers who care about your content. And would you believe it? According to science, everyone has the ability to manage 150 relationships. The better of us can manage 500 relationships. But I would say the average, for me personally, my number's the opposite. I can manage 50 quality relationships. Beyond 50 relationships, I apologize, I forgot you existed. Right? And it's not because you don't matter, it's because my political brain is too small to ever make it in politics. So I would never make it as a president of the US or any other type of role where you have to remember a good friend who we have to get on this podcast one day is Andrew Fang. That man can manage 1,000 relationships. He can meet someone once, see them a year ago, and says, "How's your daughter? Isn't her name Abigail? Wasn't she in the 3rd grade?" And I'm like, bro, I don't even remember I met that guy last year. You remembered the guy? You remembered his name? You remembered his kid's name? You remember what his kid's age
That's
is?
crazy.
That is awesome. And
Yeah.
just people have different gifts. Mine is around 50. I acknowledge it. It's been that way since 2010. I'm sure if I tried hard enough, I could make it 51. But there is something where success gets you dull. And it's those who are hungry for success that overtake those of us who've climbed that hill. So I welcome anyone to take all of that I have. It's not mine anyways. It's just what the Lord gave me. If you want it, you can come take it, and then you can manage it, and I'll go sip on an island somewhere. So my tip to those who've just started is that
Hmm.
it is a real gut wrenching day by day. I can still, if I ever had to act in a movie and they said, okay, in this scene, I need you to cry, I can cry in a moment's notice because I can remember the days of me and my wife doing mailers at 3 in the morning, licking the envelopes, literally having like poisoning from licking too many of those envelopes because I was in a stage of I was convinced I can build this business by doing mailers. So every week to save money, I figured out how to send mailers as cheap as possible, and the UPS will let you do it cheap if you do all of the work. So I would lick thousands of envelopes every week, and I can bring myself to tears because it was just me and my wife. All my family and friends would just laugh. They wouldn't like mock you, but they're just like, "I can't believe you're doing that. Just go get a job." And me and my wife truly believe we can make this work. And lo and behold, by God's grace, it did work. But I can bring myself to tears because I can see that sad little me with my sad little bank account pouring, I made $500 that day, spending it on printing 3,000 flyers, buying 3,000 envelopes, and doing the bulk mailer trick to make it as cheap as possible. So they're around 13 cents each or some kind of number like that. Or 3 cents. No, I think it was like 3.6 cents each. Like you get it really
Wow.
low. Basically, if you do all of the work and all the UPS has to do is feed it into the machine, they'll give you a deal. And then you have to hit a certain volume to hit that. And so I was all about it. And I can bring myself to tears because there ain't no one there. It's just you, whoever believes in you, your bleed team, and Jesus. And that's it. Ain't nobody else there. You can beg them to be there if you want, but it takes years and months to build businesses the kind that I built, unless you're actually famous and well known, and then it gets easier. But if you start at the immigrant level, which is where I started, had no mentors, just me and God, and hoping that this somehow makes sense because it makes sense to me, and that's it. Can you grind that out? Can you? It took me 7 years to, it probably took a little bit less, but 7 years to actually be like, God, like, we definitely made it. Like, it took 7 years to get there. And what I would tell most people, do you have 7 years? Will you commit 7 years to your dream? These content creators, some of you guys can't even commit a month. So, like, you can't, like, I'm telling you to commit 3 years to 5 years on this dream. Like, you and I just started this podcast, and this podcast is probably embarrassing. The way it's laid out, all the transition. I guarantee you, give me 2 years, or maybe give me a year of doing this podcast and check back. This is episode 4. This
Mhm.
is very tough, but check back 2 years from now what an episode looks like,
Yeah.
and then you will say, yeah, but I didn't have 2 years. And I'll tell you, bro, it's been 2 years. It is
Mhm.
May 2025 when you heard this podcast. Well, if we make it to May 2027 and you're still in the same place, in the same stream, doing the same thing, I would say to you, bruh, you didn't try hard enough. You could have tried harder. There's no way. And then look at us now. Hopefully we make it. We'll see. But future me, you did it. You did it again. You did it. Good job. 2 years of hard sacrifice. Good job. So I hope there's something there,
Yeah.
Scruffy. So that's my
Oh, that's
story.
awesome.
Your turn. You tell your story.
Yeah. So a little bit different background for me because I'm not, a second generation immigrant. My family's been here for, I think I'm technically the fifth generation. So we've been here for a while.
Nice.
And for me, I was actually really, really blessed because I studied really hard in school and was able to get a scholarship that paid for almost all of my school through both my undergrad and my graduate degree. And I was able to actually go to a private school here in Tampa. Had a lot of really great relationships, and naturally it seemed like, oh yeah, I'll just be able to find whatever I want. And in fact, there were several people that had given me like different potential for internships and jobs and stuff like that. um, but for me, I was confident that whatever I wanted to do, I was going to do for God. One of the verses for me that really stuck out was Colossians 3:17, where it says, whatever you do in word or in deed, do it for the glory of God. Um, and that's essentially what it says. And for me, I was like, I don't want to just do something to make money. I want to do something that's really going to glorify God. And like I said, I had all of these invitations to work different places. If the program I was in, I needed to find an internship. I went to a private college here in Tampa, and I had essentially like offers. If I just talked to one of the people I knew from career services, I could get an internship with the Yankees. I could get an internship with the Lightning. I could go work for Raymond James. And I could just kind of pick whatever I wanted to do, but I'm like, I don't want to just like figure whatever, I want. I wanted to actually do something that honors God. And all of those opportunities went away in an instant when COVID hit, because all those open doors slammed shut, and I really needed to like actually believe that God was going to provide something for me. So I was looking, and I met one guy who I work with now. His name is Luke, and he told me about biblically responsible investing, which is what I do now. Something I hadn't really heard about before. I had met with some like other finance guys, and most of those meetings kind of left a bad taste in my mouth because I left most of those meetings and it just felt like, oh yeah, these guys will do just whatever they want to make a dollar, and it felt really slimy to me. And I was like, I don't want to do this. There was some, now don't get me wrong, there were some people that make an insane amount of money doing that, and there were some jobs that were like, yeah, you start here, you can probably start making about $90,000 a year. And my eyes were kind of like bulging out of my head. And I'm like, what? $90,000 a year? That's insane. But at the same time, that verse that I already said was what was on my heart, is like, I want to do this for the Lord. So I met my mentor Luke, and he offered me an internship, and I learned about biblically responsible investing, and I was spending some time with the Lord praying. and I knew that this was what God had called me to do. And I was like, all right, well, I'm super excited. I'm getting ready to do this, and I'm looking at like, okay, what's the starting salary? And I'm like, great, there's no starting salary. In fact, not only do you not have a starting salary, you need to go out, build your own business, and you start owing $150 every single month just for the technology and the privilege to be on this platform. And not only that, I was driving a lot. So not only did I have the $150 a month that I had to figure out a way to pay, I had to pay for all the gas, pay for, different software and stuff to actually get my business up and running. So I think my first month, I was negative. I could probably pull up my budget and look at it, but I think my first month I was negative like $600 or something like that. The first month I actually was operating. And for me, I was just like, well, I know this is from God, but at the same point, I'm not sure how this is actually going to work out because I had and all the people that I went to school with were getting these jobs with like corporate finance and all this, where it's like, oh, I got my $5,000 signing bonus this month, and now I'm getting started, and I'm just like sitting here like, okay, how am I going to, I guess I have to take money out of my savings to cover the $600 bill that I have now because I made negative money this month. Um, and I had a great mentor who really helped me with a lot of this, but he was like, I'm not going to just give you business. If this is really from the Lord and you want to do this to honor the Lord, you actually have to go out and build your book. So that's kind of what I did. I started working, and for me, it took me probably 4 or 5 months until I got like my first client where I was actually making money. And when I say making money, I was like rejoicing because my budget was positive $20. And I remember that it was October of 2021. I had made money. I was rejoicing, and I was just so thankful. And still now, I'm still working on building my business, but uh, it was a lot of work. And for me, what really helped me is because I was able to like do my budget and stuff, I knew what my target was. I knew I had to get this many clients, this amount of dollars. This is what I was shooting for. And for the person who says, I'm just scared looking at how bad my situation is, I knew how bad my situation was. It was not necessarily the most ideal situation. What the heck
You're
is
doing
this?
you're doing the like actions that cause like there's like hand gestures. Like you're triggering him with your hand gestures.
I was like, I thought that was you reacting to
No,
my
it's you.
my
You're
stream. I'm
doing it
like,
to yourself.
what is Romans doing to me?
I was loving him. He's gonna trigger another one. It's so good. Anyone listening to this on the podcast, you've been lost the last minute. But Scruffy managed to make fireworks explode over his own face. He made the thumbs up bubble happen. I was like, oh my god, this
It's
is so good.
oh, I don't.
No,
I
yeah,
want to learn how I could do that to
you,
figure out
you
how I accidentally silhouetted myself with fireworks
no,
while I was talking
there's a
about
bunch
my
of
financial struggles.
yeah, you have that turned on. I think mine are turned off because it was annoying me.
Okay,
But
that's smart. I should
yeah,
probably do that. Um, anyways, what was I saying? Yeah. So for me, like I knew what I needed to shoot for, what my goals were, like how many clients I needed to get, what my eventual goal was. Um, and that actually helped me a lot because I knew I needed to get this much dollars, which means if my average client is going to be this big, I need 12 clients. So I'm going to set my goal and get 3 clients this month. And whatever the work is to get that, I'm going to do that. And for someone who's never managed the money before, never done anything, you don't know you're scared what it's going to look like. It may feel bad. I mean, let's face the reality. If for that person, you know it's bad already. But taking the time to actually figure out where you're at it's going to give you a target. Like Romans was talking about in his story, he had a vision of what he was going to build this business to be. When you have a vision of what your life is going to be like, what your stream is going to be like when you accomplish this, it really motivates you to work harder. And if this is going to be, if streaming, whatever your goal is, whatever your financial goal is, if you don't take the time to know exactly what you need to do to get there, you're never going to make the progress. If I just sat there and looked at my financial goal and I'm like, all right, well, let's see what happens. I'm going to figure out a way to make $150 just to cover this fee, and then figure out a way to make gas money, and figure out a way to pay for my platform fee. I was never going to be successful. I would have just eventually failed, and I don't know what exactly would have happened. But because I knew what I was shooting for, I knew that this is what God had for me to do. So I made my goals and I was like, I am going to do these things till I get there. And it really helped me because once I hit that goal, once knew I made money in October, I was like, I've done it. Now I can actually start building. And the joy that comes when you pay off your debt, when you hit that point where you accomplish that goal that in the moment seems so insurmountable, it's just complete joy. I'm kind of rambling now, but
Yeah.
take the time to find your goal. It will help you get more focused and allow you to really start making some progress.
Well, I think maybe you should end this with actual practical. Okay, guys, you made it. I want to make it too. What is step one for me? And actually, I think it goes back to the original question, right? That fear when someone says, "I've never tracked my finances. I'm scared and don't want to look at it." To be honest with you, that's step one. You have to take
Yeah.
account. There's probably some Bible lesson in there. There's got to be a Bible verse out there that says something along the lines of take an account of the resources God has given you, manage that well, and God will give you more. I know for sure. There's some, I butchered it, but there's a
Mhm.
Bible verse somewhere around those, something like that, right? Like you have to manage what's in front of you right now and steward them well. So if you're deep in debt and you're only going deeper in that debt, the real first step is acknowledging, is there a way to fix it?
Mhm.
Sometimes it takes time to fix the hole you're in. And we're not trying to tell you fix it tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
it took me and my wife 2 years of pouring every single dollar we could generate from anywhere and hit it against our debt. Like we went into like this is do or die. We made it seem very drastic, even though it probably wasn't. But we made it super drastic. We cannot live like this. And just nickel and dimed. I was one of those people that if there was a way to min max a coupon, like I wasn't as good as a super couponer where I walk out of the grocery store and they gave me $40. I wasn't that good, but and it's still affecting me to this day. I gotta get a deal on anything I buy. There's gotta be a way I can get 5% off, 10% off, some percent off on things I'm buying. Now I'm not a haggler by trade, so I don't like to like haggle, like unless it's in that like if you go to certain cultures you have to haggle. There's certain cultures that's in America though, haggling isn't normally accepted, but you can still score a deal. And in those days I was nickel and diming everything because I just could not. I needed to get out of this. So I would tell someone bite the bullet, take Scruffy's offer to use his budget that he's devised for Reach, meet him in the Reach Discord, ask him the questions, and actually carve out a real budget that you can see whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Are you in the hole negative 100 every month? At least you know. So what's your
Yeah.
goal going forward? How to hit zero. I am burning 100 in my hole. I'm not paying off my credit cards. Everything's going up. There has to be something you can do to reverse this. There just
Mhm.
has to be, at least in America. Other countries, whatever. But if you're listening to this in the US, you can dig out of it. Most people can. It's very rare. Less than 1% are probably those who truly cannot, who need an exterior force, God, or just another force, probably God anyways, to kick them out of that hole they're
Yeah.
in, that spiral. But most people meet with Scruffy, just have the uncomfortable, embarrassing, raw, real conversation. Take the time to break down your bank statements, your credit cards, however you use money, and just fill up that spreadsheet and just stare at it and look at it, cry on it, pray on it, and then
Hmm.
ask someone like Scruffy, how the heck, how do I fix this? And he'll tell you.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say too is even in those really bad situations, when I've worked with my clients who are really struggling, they don't know where their money is going. Most of the time I meet with people, I'd say probably 9 out of 10 times, it's not nearly as bad as they actually think it is. And sometimes it is truly as bad as you think it is, but most of the time it's not. And those meetings that I have with those people, there's most of the time a lot of hope because you realize, oh, these are the only things I need to do to actually get to where I'm making progress. Where instead of sliding down, I'm actually taking steps forward. So, yes, the hardest part is actually making the decision, I am going to look at this. Because once you do that, I am like Roman said, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to walk with you every step of the way to get you to the point where you're making progress again. But you have to make that first decision to actually look at it and get started. It's not easy, but when you do that, that is the hardest part, is getting to the point where you can actually look at where you're at and know where you can go from there. It's going to take some sacrifice to do that, but once you get there, you're going to be able to see exactly what you need to do. And there's plenty of people around to help you. I'm happy to help you. There's people that are going to be in your corner to help you. There's even people in the Reach Discord now are cheering each other on as they're learning to budget for the first time. And just, I've never done it before. There will be people that will help you, and you absolutely can make a difference and start making progress, but you have to start.
Oof. Rip that band aid. Do it. You know, denial is not only a river in Egypt.
It's true.
Yeah. So let's
Uh,
let's make it only a river in Egypt. Let's stop being in denial and stare at the ugly realities before us and dig our ways out. How do you move a mountain? One little rock at a time.
mhm.
Some mountains are 1,000 rocks. Others are 10,000 rocks. Some are 100,000 rocks. But if you don't start moving one rock, the mountain will always be there. So
Yeah, it's
cool.
true.
All right, let's wrap this baby up.
Oh, yeah.
What are you gonna be doing soon? Let's reverse it. Where are you going? What's happening what the next time we record a podcast? What's up? What's gonna happen?
For me, not all that much. Well, actually, that's not true. My parents are going on vacation and they are going to be sitting me with their dog, who is a puppy. So I will be getting to watch Pickles. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully, she does not destroy my house. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. Maybe I'll be able to bring her on next time we record an episode, show you Pickles. She is adorable, but she will destroy anything. We have not found a toy yet that she will not completely obliterate.
Awesome,
So
awesome.
that's what's new with me right now.
Well, I'll
Or I
be
guess in the future.
yeah, I'll be. I'm leaving this Friday for a cabin in the mountains, so I'll be there
Ooh.
for a week and we'll be cabining it up. We've never. I don't think we've ever stayed an entire week. You know, we've always done 3, 4, maybe 5. My wife was like, "We've done this before. You're crazy." But according to my little brain, I think we've never stayed an entire week in a cabin. So it'll be great because it is 100 degrees. You know, our workout this morning, I was legit dying from just the heat of my garage. It was like 100.
Oh
It
yeah.
felt like 300 degrees, and I was like cooking. I was cooked. Anyways, catch me in the Reach Discord. You'll see the link in the episode description, I'm sure.
Hmm.
I'll catch you in there. Me and Scruffy are there. You can ask us whatever. Join the fun. Reach Conference, November 6, 7, 8, here in Orlando, Florida. You can meet us in person. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. And there's 15 different adventures in the conference itself. I guarantee you've probably gone to other cons and other conventions, but there's no conference like the Reach conference, and you won't.
Mhm.
You would have experienced a little bit last year, but it's gonna be 50% more crazy this year in all the good God glorifying ways. But I'm telling you, I'm really may the Lord continue to innovate and iterate and just blow away all the people who show up there. All right, that's it. There's my cringe.
That's it. Yeah, be there. I went last year. It was so much fun, and you could not ask for a better group of people to go have fun with than the Reach people. Uh, I'm so looking forward to it. I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. I hope you all can come.
Bye.
All right. Well, that is it for this episode of DLC, a finance podcast for gamers. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Drop your questions down below, and we will see you next time. Bye.